Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling one of the hottest topics in current affairs, the ongoing debate over voting rights. Voting is a fundamental right in any democracy, but recent changes in voting laws and heightened political discourse have brought this issue to the forefront, especially with the 2024 election on the horizon. We're covering both sides of the debate, the implications for citizens, and what the latest developments mean for voters. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss updates on this critical issue. Voting is often seen as the bedrock of democracy, enabling citizens to influence decisions that affect their lives. Recently, however, many states have tightened voting laws by increasing voter ID requirements and limiting mail-in voting. Advocates of these stricter policies argue they're necessary to protect against voter fraud and ensure election security. They liken showing an ID to vote to showing one to board a plane or buy certain goods, framing it as a reasonable measure to maintain electoral integrity. Opponents, however, argue these restrictions disproportionately impact marginalized communities, particularly people of color, low-income individuals, and seniors who may lack easy access to valid identification. Studies show that minority communities are statistically less likely to have government-issued IDs, which raises concerns that these laws may limit voting participation among underrepresented groups. Opponents argue that the ability to vote should be as accessible as possible, ensuring that all voices can be heard equally. The topic of mail-in voting also fuels debate. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many states expanded mail-in options, which helped achieve record-breaking voter turnout in 2020. However, several states have since rolled back these options, citing concerns about potential fraud and a preference for in-person voting. Proponents of expanded mail-in voting point out that it provides a safe, accessible option for voters, especially those with disabilities or those living in rural areas. Critics, however, believe that in-person voting is more secure and that increasing mail-in options introduces greater risks. The Supreme Court has had a substantial impact on voting rights, notably in its 2013 decision in Shelby County v. Holder, which removed a key provision in the Voting Rights Act requiring federal approval for voting changes in states with histories of racial discrimination. This decision, supporters argue, returned states' rights to manage their elections, but critics contend that it weakened protections, opening the door to potentially discriminatory voting laws. Since then, some states have implemented laws that voting rights advocates argue limit access to voting for minority communities. To address these issues, Congress introduced the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, aiming to restore federal oversight for voting changes in states with histories of discrimination, and the For the People Act, which sets national standards for early voting, mail-in options, and voter registration. However, both bills face strong opposition, with critics arguing they infringe on states' rights to oversee their elections. The battle reflects a deep partisan divide, with Democrats advocating expanded voting rights protections and Republicans focusing on election security. With the 2024 election fast approaching, the stakes are high. Changes to voting laws can significantly impact voter turnout and influence election outcomes, especially in swing states where results are often decided by narrow margins. Reducing early voting or closing polling locations in certain areas could create obstacles that discourage people from voting, potentially shifting outcomes in favor of one party over another. This doesn't just affect national elections. It influences local and state elections as well, shaping policies that impact people's daily lives. Ultimately, voting rights are about more than simply casting a ballot. They're about ensuring everyone has a voice in how society is governed. Supporters of expanded access see this as essential to a healthy democracy, while those advocating for stricter laws argue that election security is just as important as accessibility. This ongoing debate highlights the complexity of protecting democracy in a rapidly changing world. If you found this video helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more on the issues that matter most. What's your take on voting rights? Should voting be made easier, or are stricter regulations necessary to protect democracy? Let us know in the comments below, and stay tuned for more insights on the stories shaping our world.